Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tones Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is part two of my new mini series called the McCartney Project, and it's part two of the first video, which was called Wings Deepest Cuts, where I'm looking at my favourite deep cuts from the Wings era. Now, originally I picked two songs from each album from the Wings era, but when we did the first video it kind of went on a little bit longer than I was hoping, so I've hung over the second song from each album for this video. If you missed the first part, there will be an end card at the end of this video and you can watch part one. It doesn't matter that you'll be watching it out of order because it's not the sort of video that you need to watch in order, but there might be a couple of references in this video that reference something that I've spoken about in the first video, so you may prefer to watch the first one first and the second one second. I don't know, it's up to you, but that's all I really need to tell you. So let's get on with part two of Wings Deepest Cuts. My second deep cut pick from the Wildlife album is the song Dear Friend. Now, I don't feel like this is a song like some of the others that I've picked where, you know, I like it and, you know, a lot of other fans don't. I feel that this song does get quite a lot of respect from other fans. It's probably the most produced song on the album, featuring a full orchestra, but it's a very dramatic song, and I think this is a first-class McCartney ballad. Seeing as it's got a full orchestra on it, the actual Wings lineup on this song is very sparse. Just Paul on piano, vocals and bass, Denny Sywell on drums, and Denny Lane on vibraphone. Linda doesn't play on this song at all, but you'd think that having a full orchestra playing alongside that very sparse sort of lineup would kind of drown it out, take the impetus away from the drama of the song. It doesn't. The orchestra is very subtle on this song, and it kind of builds and builds towards the end of the song, but you kind of hear it sort of in the background during most of the song. Now, this song is obviously addressed at John, and in Paul's lyrics book, he references, when he talks about this song, he references some of the things that John said in the Rolling Stone interview that he did in October 1970, that very vitriolic interview that he did, and probably other things that he'd said in the press, rather than being a reaction to How Do You Sleep, which is the popular vote of why this song was written. But the fact that this song was recorded on the 24th of July 1971, sort of about 3 months before Imagine came out, it kind of bears out that story that it's not really a reaction to How Do You Sleep. Now, the lyrics don't really go into specifics. It's very broad and not really picking on anything in particular. But basically, he's saying in this song, come on, let's stop this public slagging, and let's get together. The lyric "throw some wine" means come on, let's get together and have a drink and talk about it and put an end to this nonsense. Why do we have to do this in public, sort of thing. The lyrics, there's not that many lyrics to the song. There's only two verses that in the first half of the song are kind of just Wings, and then in the second two verses the kind of the orchestra comes in, and it is a full orchestra. Let me just read out the lineup of this orchestra. It is 8 violins, 4 cellos, 2 trombones, 2 French horns, 4 flutes, an oboe, a tenor saxophone and a harp. So like I say, you would think that with a kind of a lineup like that, it would kind of drown out. We'd lose the drama, but we don't lose the drama. The drama is kind of is there in a couple of ways. Firstly, where there is a complete stop and a bar of silence in between the verses, that adds drama. There's also Denny Sywell doing these sort of crescendos on his cymbals, that also builds and adds drama to the song. It's a song that I really love, and you know, that is my my second pick from the Wildlife album. So my final deep cut from Red Rose Speedway is really an odd one for me. It's Loop, First Indian on the Moon. And why this is odd for me is, firstly, it's mostly an instrumental, and I'm not really that keen on instrumentals. They always sound like unfinished songs to me. And secondly, it's a bit prog rock. It owes more, I think, to Pink Floyd than it does to Wings. It's more like a Floyd track, and that isn't uncoincidental, because Pink Floyd were in the next studio to Wings. When Wings were recording Red Rose Speedway, Pink Floyd were in the next studio at Abbey Road recording Dark Side of the Moon. And Nick Mason invited Paul and Linda and Henry McCulloch to come in to the Floyd studio and do some of those spoken parts that you get on Dark Side of the Moon. They had to come up with something spontaneous, and they didn't use Paul or Linda's contributions because they didn't feel that it was spontaneous enough. But they did actually use Henry McCulloch's little spoken part, and his bit is that bit that says, I don't really know, I was drunk at the time. It kind of appears on Dark Side of the Moon between Money and Us and Them. But Loop, the First Indian on the Moon, is a track that I have always really liked, and I'm not really sure why. I think it's because it's just so musical. I just love Paul's bass playing in this is fantastic, and there's three sort of sections to this song. The song moves at quite a fast pace and changes direction 3 times during the song. I think the drums are really interesting on this. Everybody plays the instruments that you would expect them to, including Linda, who is on organ on this track. Paul plays the Moog synthesizers on this and is adding lots of little sort of sound effects here and there. There's all sorts of percussion going on as well, cowbells, and a thing called a vibra slap, which, if you don't know, is one of these. It's called a vibra slap because you slap it and it vibrates. So you'll hear that throughout the song as well. So yeah, it's an unusual pick for me, but it is a song that I really like. So my final deep cut from the Venus and Mars album is a similar story to the one that I told regarding Loving Song. Took me a long time to discover it, and that is Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People. An absolutely heart-wrenching song. The final song on the Venus and Mars album, and it's a song that has got it feels really personal to me, because it's about growing old with dementia and spending time in an old people's home. My mother didn't have dementia and didn't spend any time in an old people's home, but my father did. But the main character in this song is mostly female. So this song reminds me more of my mum than it does of my dad, even though it was my dad who spent the time in the home and had dementia. But the incredible thing about this song is that the original demo that Paul wrote for Treat Her Gently originates from late 1972. Paul was 30. He was 30 years old when he wrote the original lyrics for this song. How did he get it so right at such a young age? Because he's a bloody genius. That is how. And only geniuses can come up with this sort of stuff. And it is a dramatic piano-led ballad. Paul obviously on lead vocals, but Linda and Denny add superb harmonies supporting that lead vocal that you hear throughout this song. Jimmy McCulloch adding some really nice guitar licks as well. Joe English is on drums on this track, and again, this is a top class McCartney ballad, and if it's something that is personal to you, it's a difficult but very challenging lyric. Here we sit out of breath. Nobody asked us to play. Bit by bit, lonely old people, you know, eking our lives away, and that is what that cruel disease does. And as I say, it's a difficult but challenging and rewarding listen. You know, look after your folks, kids. They might drive you bananas, but there's a time when you will miss them driving you bananas. There are strings on this that add even more drama to this song, as if it even needs it. It doesn't need any more drama, but it gets it anyway. Again, another song that is the epitome of a deep cut. Absolutely superb song. Treat her gently, lonely old people. My second deep cut from Wings at the Speed of Sound is the closing track, Warm and Beautiful. Again, another track that doesn't seem to get a lot of love, and I'm not really sure why, because it is a classy McCartney ballad, obviously, you know, a song for Linda, and it's, you know, it's got some very nice parts in it. You know, the first couple of verses, just Paul piano, and if I've got any sort of complaint about the song, is that I would say that Paul's vocals a little bit dry on this song. There are a couple of notes during those first couple of verses that sort of end, you know, quite low down for Paul's vocal range at that time, and but he needs to be that low so that he can move right up for the key change, the Sunlight's Morning Glory part. So he needs to be low down so he can get up high for that part. It's got that interesting little guitar part in the middle where it's like a slide guitar part that harmonises with itself and also with the piano that's playing underneath, and then you get like a couple of horns come in towards the end of that sort of guitar solo, and then it very, very subtly brings in a string quartet, which makes the song then move to something completely different. It then starts sounding like something much more old-fashioned, like the sort of thing that you might hear at a tea dance or something like that. Not that I've ever been to a tea dance, but I think I know the kind of thing that gets played at a tea dance, and it's this kind of thing that you kind of imagine being in a, you know, in a ballroom. And but the string quartet part is really, really nice, and it adds something definitely to the song. It's a shame not a lot of people really like this song, but I really do. So I'm going to include it as one of my favourite deep cuts. That's Warm and Beautiful. For my next pick, I'm going back to Wings Over America, and it's the song Call Me Back Again, which I feel is a song that kind of slips under the radar a little bit on Venus and Mars. It kind of gets a little bit lost in all the other wonderful songs that are on that album, but really, really comes to the fore in the live format on Wings Over America. This is Wings absolutely cooking on this song. Every element of the band are on top form during the version that we get on Wings Over America. The horn section are full on. Paul is on piano on this track. Denny switches to bass, and Paul's vocal on this song is amongst the best he has ever delivered, I think, on record, on the live version of Call Me Back Again. I love that sort of raspy voice, and it's a slow builder. This song is a slow builder, but it builds and it builds and it builds, and you know, towards the end of the song he is really going for it vocally, right towards the end where he does that yeah. I absolutely love that bit. Jimmy McCulloch adds a superb guitar solo right near the beginning of the song after the first verse, but he's adding little licks all over the place during this song, and Joe English's drumming is excellent throughout this song. So Call Me Back Again, a song that maybe goes under the radar a little bit, but on Wings Over America it comes right up to the fore. It is one of the best tracks on the album. It comes from side 2, which is mostly the side that Paul is playing piano on. So that is my final pick from Wings Over America, Call Me Back Again. Now, if there's ever a track that will divide fans, it will be my final deep cut pick from London Town, and that is Morse Moose and the Grey Goose. It's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. I absolutely love it. It is bizarre. Again, you know, a bit like Famous Groupies in the way that Wings never really revisited anything like this again. It's a 6.5 minute track, which kind of starts off as a jam. You've got Paul and Denny sort of hitting an electric piano at random intervals, and they decided that it sounded a little bit like Morse code, and it's got, you know, big piano chords on the intro before the singing comes in. Again, Paul singing with that sort of raspy Little Richardy type voice that he uses. Come on down to the bottom of the sea, tell me, are you receiving me? My name is Morse Moose and I'm calling you. Underneath that, he is playing an absolutely superb bass line. Halfway through the song, maybe about 2 to 3 minutes, the song completely changes direction, and it goes into this sort of like sea shanty thing. The Grey Goose was a steady boat. People said she'd never float, and when the boat came in, the Grey Goose blew away. And it's got, you know, it's Denny Lane playing acoustic guitar, Paul on mellotron in that bit, and then there's a kind of a clumsy sort of edit, and then it kind of goes back to the sort of the Morse code bit with the full band coming in, and that sort of continues to the end. But underneath that, there's this kind of choked guitar solo from Jimmy McCulloch, which I really enjoy. It's a weird song. It's a weird song, as I say. I never did anything like it, and it's one of these things, you either love it or you hate it. I absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant, and that is my final pick from London Town. So for my final deep cut pick, I'm not going to pick another song from Back to the Egg, and I'll tell you for why. So mostly because of the criteria that I set myself for this video. So 6 of the songs from Back to the Egg were played live, so I'm not including those. You've got a couple of throwaways. Reception, which is a track that I quite like, but it's not going to make my top list of deep cuts. Then you also got the broadcast, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a complete waste of time. You've got a couple of songs which are little snippets of songs that are segued together to make something bigger. Love Awake and Winter Rose and After the Ball, Million Miles. These are okay songs, but again, they're not going to make my top picks of deep cuts. Then you've got the 2 Rockestra songs, which are not really Wings, because they're bigger than Wings. There's more than just the Wings band playing on those, so I'm not including those. Baby's Request was a double A side with Getting Closer, so that's not included. Doesn't give me a lot to play with. I've already did To You as one of my deep cuts in the first part of this video, so it doesn't give me a lot to play with, so I'm not picking another song from Back to the Egg. What I am going to pick is the B-side of the Goodnight Tonight single, Daytime, Nighttime, Suffering. Should have been on the album. In fact, both of these songs should have been on the album. Would have made Back to the Egg a better album with the inclusion of Goodnight Tonight and Daytime, Nighttime, Suffering. There's an interesting story attached to Daytime, Nighttime, Suffering. Paul always wanted Wings to be a proper band, not just a backing band. And on a Friday night in the studio, he set them a challenge for the weekend. He said, go away over the weekend and write a song, and the best song that we come back with on Monday will be the B-side of the single Good Night Tonight. So, you know, they went away, wrote the song. Apparently Steve Holly spent all weekend on a piano trying to come up with a song. But let's be honest, you know, if you're in a band with Paul McCartney and you're in a songwriting competition, you don't stand a chance, really. Linda said that you know, Paul set the challenge on the Friday. On the Saturday and the Sunday, he was kind of writing and arranging the song. On Monday morning, he was back in the studio telling the band how it goes. So that's how it goes when you're in a band with Paul McCartney. Now, the song Daytime Nighttime Suffering is clearly a song about the plight of women, or the bad deal that women get, but it is a very, very musical song. Fantastic vocals and harmony vocals from Paul, Linda and Denny during this song. Some really nice guitar licks as well from Lawrence Juba. One of the guitar licks was actually written by Paul, and you know, Lawrence Juba said that normally Paul would give him free range to do what he wanted, but he wanted this specific guitar lick included in the song because he wrote the song with the guitar lick in it. He just wanted Lawrence Juba to play it rather than Paul play it himself. There's some great cymbal work going on as well from Steve Holly in the song. Listen out for that. And I really love that sort of a cappella vocal bit that's in it as well, where Paul is actually like imitating a bass guitar just with his voice during that bit. That's something he did in Monkberry Moon Delight as well, and I just really love that a cappella bit. And there's a little curio in this song. Have a listen at about 2 minutes 3 seconds where it just goes quiet, and you will hear a baby crying for about a second, and that baby is James McCartney, is little James McCartney crying on Daytime Nighttime Suffering. Have a listen out for that. So that is it. Say Daytime Nighttime Suffering. I think when I did my ranking of Paul McCartney B-sides, this came out at number 1. No spoilers, obviously, if you haven't seen the video, but it came out at number 1. So that was that was my number 1 B-side. Paul himself actually said that he might think that Daytime Nighttime Suffering is his favourite song from the Wings era as well, which is high praise indeed. So that is it. Both songs should have been on Back to the Egg. They weren't, unfortunately. But it is Daytime Nighttime Suffering. Brilliant deep cut, a B-side. You'll only find it on the B-side of the Good Night Tonight single. And I think it might be on one of the compilations. I think maybe Wingspan. I think it's on. So that is it. That is all my deep cuts for this video. Okay, so that concludes part 2 of Wings' Deepest Cuts video, part of my new mini-series called the McCartney Project. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you missed part 1 and you want to watch it, there will be an end card coming up at the end of this video, and you can just click on it and watch it. It doesn't matter that it's out of order. It's not the sort of video that you need to watch in any particular order. It won't make any difference whatsoever. Please tell me down in the comments your own personal favourite Wings Deep Cuts. I know some of you have already done that on the first part of this video. If you haven't and you want to tell me about your own favourite deep cuts, please do so down in the comments. And as you know, I do read all your comments, and I will respond to all your comments as well. The next video in this little mini series, the McCartney Project, I'll be looking at Paul's top tunes from that decade that we never know what to call it. That one that goes from 2010 to 2020. What is it? Do we call it the teenies? I don't even know. I don't even know what we call it, but it's that decade. So we'll be going from one end of the spectrum, from the Wings end of the spectrum, to the far end of the spectrum. On the next video, we'll be looking at Paul's greatest songs between 2010 and 2020. That is the next video in the series. There will also be, hopefully, when it finally arrives, my review of Ringo's new album, Look Up. That will probably drop before the next episode in this little mini series. Okay, well, that is it from me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.